Dear listener, good morning. Welcome to part 2 of my chat with Christian O'Connell. So he's got a book out. It's called Unscript, and it's all about the power of human connection and changing the script we have for ourselves in our lives. It is a book that makes you laugh and makes you cry, and in part 1 I shared a moment of the book when I was reading it that made me laugh. Today, the moment that made me cry. As I said, I wanted to give a flavour of the book in this interview. So we've spoken about something that made you laugh, but that made me laugh rather. There was something that made me cry, and I know this would have been hard to write about. So I'm going to ask you, I guess, about your reaction to starting in Sydney and Bondi, because you've got that towards the end of the book. I don't think that's a spoiler to say that. But even reading it, it made me feel like, because I'd been connecting with you throughout the book, it made me feel like that also must have been really hard to write, let alone experience. But can you just talk us through that experience and what you learnt about human connection through what happened in Bondi?
Yeah, so, what Wade is talking about, was the Bondi terrorist attack on the beach, in December. And it just so happened that towards the end of last year, I was going to be replacing Jonesy and Amanda. Now, Jonesy and Amanda, people might not know, listen to this, they probably do. That they did that breakfast show, a beloved breakfast show, for 20 years in Sydney. And I was the guy replacing them. And so I thought, I really would like to go on air after they finish, tell no one about this, and actually just do the breakfast show for a week. So I can actually just speak to you and go, look, I'm the guy. And I know you must feel a certain way, like, who is it? Oh my God, who's this English guy? And I just wanted to introduce myself and actually just let them share their frustrations and hear just what kind of show I was going to do. And then they make up their own choice, a kind of adult conversation rather than just sort of starting in January. And they kind of built up the story about who I am. And so I've never done it before. I just thought, I found it quite respectful. I thought this would be a nice, respectful way to do this, actually, just to show up. The book is about showing up authentically. That means you're going to need courage, but you're also going to, you're going to be a bit scared as well. And I really was. But I thought, I knew why I was doing it. And so my team and I, we all arrived on the Sunday night. We're having dinner, and we're in Sydney. And then all of a sudden, it actually gives me goosebumps now thinking about it. We were in a really busy bar. There were hundreds of people out. It was a really glorious Sydney Sunday night in December. And we were looking forward to doing this incredible week of like, wow, what's this going to be like? And suddenly I could just see everyone's phones were pinging at the same time. I've never experienced anything like it. And then everything went quiet, right? Really, really quiet, where you knew something really bad has happened and nearby. And one of the team, their partner is a detective in the police, and they rang and said, where are you all in Sydney? And that there'd been a very, very serious terrorist attack on Bondi Beach with multiple fatalities. And at first it was easy to just deny, go, that can't be right. The way that misinformation and fear spreads these days, it was easy to go, that can't be right. We need to check that. But then when you heard it from a detective from the police force, and then you were looking on your phones and you saw what was going on. And so suddenly the atmosphere changed. My team and I walked out, and the team they were really worried about, do we go on air the next day? And I wasn't sure, to be honest. But I thought, well, we're going to be launching this national show the next month. And sadly, in my career, I've actually been on air through major terrorist attacks in London. The worst one in 2005, when, many people died. I was on air for that when that all came out. And I thought, well, this is the job. We can't buckle now. This is the job. There may be days like this ahead in the next couple of years. I hope there are never days as bad as that. But you just don't know. But this is the job. If you say you're going to show up, you have to show up. But it's one thing, it's an easy thing to say, Wayne. I remember going back to this Airbnb that night. Obviously, my wife and my daughters were ringing me. Where are you? Are you okay? There was just so much fear in the air. But the big thing that was in the air was just sadness. And I've only been in Australia 8 years. It didn't make any sense. I remember looking at it on my phone. I just kept looking at it. I couldn't believe what I was reading. That this doesn't feel like Australia. That actually the lucky country just doesn't happen here. And then another bit of fear came in where I was like, I don't know if this is the right thing to be the first time I'm talking to a city who I've never, my first breakfast show in Sydney, and people are going to wake up on that Monday morning with the worst news ever for that city. I wasn't sure whether it was the right thing for me to do that, whether it would actually be very damaging for my career, and if I could be of any service to them. But then I thought, radio for me, my relationship with radio has changed massively than when I started 28 years ago. If I'm genuine about what I want to do with this radio show, then I turn up tomorrow morning. And then I just thought, if I saw a car accident, I would offer to go and help. I wouldn't not help because I didn't know anyone and they didn't know my name. And so we did go on air that Monday morning. And day by day, I really, really hoped that we were a friend to people in their darkest hour. And Wade, for months, we had over-prepared that show. And I don't over-prepare shows, but really wanted to be the ultimate getting to know me and what the show's going to be about. And that radical stripping away actually just really reminded me what authentic connection is about. It isn't about striving for perfection or trying to control the outcome, trying to impress everybody. It's about something else. It's about kindness. It's about empathy. And it was my job every day. I said to the team before the show every day, I said, it's our job to find the light today. We have to find the light. It's not enough just to keep talking about the headlines. It's so grim. It's our job to find the good news. So before the show every day, normally we're like, where's the funny? Where's the great stories today? But every morning I was like, what's the good news? And so every half an hour, every hour, we would say, and here's some good news today. And it was the stories that they remind us that there's more good people in the world. And we all saw that even in the people that ran into the face of danger, the lifesavers that we saw, those iconic images running on, into danger. And so there was still good news, the way that people were reacting, people queuing for hours to give blood at various blood centers as well. And so every day we were reflecting back really the light that was there in amongst the darkness. And the reaction we would get day by day, and by Wednesday, people were ringing during the show, thanking us for being on because everyone else was on holiday that week.
Yeah.
All the big shows were thanking us for doing the show. And then someone, it's a small act of kindness. Someone turned up at the radio station about 6 o'clock Wednesday morning. They baked me a sponge cake, and they don't obviously just Google what cake with an Englishman like. And I do like an Englishman. I love a sponge cake. I remember in the tea. During the news at 6:30, we were silently crying just about the fact that someone had just made us a cake to say thank you. And we're like, what an extraordinary week. And so it just might happen that I had my laptop with me and I was coming to the end. I was about to write the last chapter book and I thought I had it all worked out. And I was like, what a vivid example of authentic connection, bigger than a radio show. And just what happens really when we don't listen to each other and have empathy for someone who's different and thinks differently to us. On the most extreme example, you get radicalism. And then on the other thing, you get armored and all the kindness we saw that week, the outpouring of money from around the world, from strangers who felt connected to us, the other side of the world. And so it was a utterly heartbreaking week. But also in amongst that tragedy and pain, there was also this lightness and this joy. It reminded me that we need each other. We really do need each other right now. And so actually this connective tissue is wasting a bit. And so a book is a reminder, if anything, I'm sure you picked up, it's a reminder of the joy and necessity of human connection and shared experience.
Absolutely. And look, on behalf of the industry, because we don't get to talk to each other very much, thank you for that week, because even though I don't live in Sydney, we certainly heard the audio and we certainly saw the job that would have been really hard for most of us to do, and you and your team fronted up to do it in completely unusual circumstances. But, in a weird kind of way, when I got to the end of your book, it summed up exactly what you were talking about. All through the previous chapters and the examples you gave, talking about how you and your team handled Bondi and what you had to be for the Sydney community was the epitome of human connection. And I think that, not you'd ever wish something like that to happen, but in terms of a way to round out the point that you're making, I actually thought it was fantastic. You did such a good job there.
Thanks, Wade. It was, I have to say, it was one of the most memorable weeks of my life, actually. I've been lucky enough to be able to do what I do and what I love to do for 28 years. And I learned more in those 5 days about what is this really about? Because actually, we overcomplicate our lives, and we overcomplicate and try to polish how we connect with each other. And in the age of AI, we're going to see more and more of that. We already have. I saw the other day, 80% of content on LinkedIn, same on Twitter, X, the same. Over 80% already is AI generated. And
Yeah.
so the way that we're going to know what's real and what's not real is by doubling down on what is uniquely human. And that's our very real human flaws and messiness, and owning that and sharing that.
Okay, that's a great way to finish our conversation about your book. I'm going to give you a plug at the end, but first, before we go, the P1s of this podcast are major fans of yours. I asked them in our WhatsApp group, what are the questions you want me to ask Christian? I've got 3 here. So Gavin says, is there anyone on air in Australia that could do a reverse Christian? Now, don't let your mind go into weird places. I think a reverse Christian is you coming here. Could anyone in Australian radio, do you think, make it in UK radio?
Hamish and Andy, I know you probably, the question probably meant on air, but I still think of them on the podcast. I still think of them as, I think Amanda Keller. I think Amanda is I think she's one of the best broadcasters. And people go, oh, she's one of the best female broadcasters in Australia. She's one of the best broadcasters that Australia's ever had. Forget about she's a woman. She's so good. When I do stuff with Amanda, I get nervous, and it's great to feel nervous when you're doing it so long. I'm like, you really got to have your A game with Amanda, because she's so quick and sharp. The jokes are like high joke IQ. I want to be better when I'm chatting to Amanda, and I hear the way she articulates stuff, and this skill she's got with words, but also the quickness. I think people don't really realize just how lucky you are in Australia to have Amanda Keller. Amanda Keller could go into the UK, she could go into America, and she would take those countries by storm. I think Amanda is such a very, very unique, talented broadcaster.
Yeah, good call. Okay, Spencer has asked if you could do more localized breaks in your Sydney and Melbourne breakfast show. So just a question then, a technical question. Are you capable of doing it technically? And if so, is that a thought for you to do more localized breaks as your show goes wider around the country?
Of course, we could do it technically. I did a national show in the UK for 12 years. And obviously, London is different to Liverpool, Birmingham, Belfast, up in Scotland as well. And I built that up to 2.5 million listeners. I am not interested in doing local content, and that's not the purpose of what I do in the morning. My job in the morning is to try and bring everyone together, regardless of wherever you are. If you want local content, then that's what those local stations are for, and they do it brilliantly. I'm not trying to compete with them. I'm trying to really what I'm trying to do is create my own category, I guess, with the National Commercial Breakfast Show. Is trying to make this is something different, and this is what this exists to do. There's no point in me trying to then do also something else. And also what I'm playing for is wherever you are, and people keep going to me, oh, for 8 years, I was told by various people, you won't be able to do this because people in Sydney are very, very different to people in Melbourne. And now, whilst there are certain characteristics, but on the Venn diagram, it's a lot. How come with the TV shows we're watching are from America or the UK? It's bollocks. You're overthinking it. I'm in the feelings business. Feelings are everywhere. They're in North Sydney. They're in Parramatta. They're on Great Ocean Road. They're in London. I don't believe that. And also, I know what I'm talking about. People would tell me this, like, you're speaking to a guy who came here. No one knew who I was, and English. And people said, you won't get anywhere near Fox FM in Melbourne for 3 years. Within 15 months, the show was extraordinarily number one. And so the overlap between, I sound like I'm not from, every time I spoke for the first couple of months, people reminded, wait, you're not one of us. You don't know what round the twist is or what footy is. And so, or do you know what a Hills hoist is? And so it was like, I've been through this for the last 8 years. And so I'm not trying to please everybody. And so I'm not trying to be local. There's no point in that. I'm not trying to be national, really. It's just, this is what I do on the radio. It's storytelling. Yep. It's the bright side of the dial. I don't do showbiz gossip. I'm not interested in hot takes about politics. I'm not Dave Hughes. I'm not Karl Stefanovic. There are enough grifters out there. You don't need another one pretending he's in your city. That's not authentic connection. I'm not. Hamish and Andy didn't live in all 5 cities. Grow up.
No. Yeah. I was just going to say, Hamish and Andy, I don't think ever got the question, will you do local breaks, or Martin Malloy, or any of those shows. It seems to be something that people are obsessed with you with
Yeah,
doing
they're
anyway.
like, listen, English guy, you know, you got
Yeah.
lucky once.
Yeah. Talk about Manly. Yeah. Great.
Talk about the potholes in my
Yeah.
suburb.
Oh, God.
Yeah, because
Please don't bring up
that's
the
really
potholes.
fucking interesting, that, yeah.
And the last quick question, Stephen says, on a similar note, are there any actual differences between people in Sydney and Melbourne, or do you think we as Australians just, exaggerate it? Do you pick up any actual differences?
Yeah, but yeah, there are. Of course, I'd say it's more tone. It's just an energy. Like when I'm in Sydney, and I'm in there a lot these days. I notice these differences. But even if I go around the west, but that's the same with every city. I think most cities are divided really by a body of water. It's the same in London. It's the same in Melbourne, and it's the same. It's really interesting, actually. Big cities and energies of cities is often about whether you really. I know it's about people talk about east or west, but radio people management are crazy. They've read The Art of War and thinking this is about radio. So they always shit. All I've heard from radio experts is you need to take the west of Sydney. I'm like, are you aware of what you said? What do you take the west of Sydney? What does that even mean? What about we don't want the east, we don't want the north. What about the poor lot in the just? It's not Game of Thrones. They're like, if you can make. Someone actually said to me, if you can take the west of Sydney, the whole city will fall. And I'm like, this is madness. What are you saying?
Yeah,
But yeah, I think there are funny different flavors into certain things. And like, it's funny when I'm in Sydney, I often try and stir people. I go, how do you feel about Sydney? That rivalry, it's nothing. They go, oh, we don't care about that. That's people in Melbourne that get very upset about Sydney because we're a very beautiful looking city and Melbourne isn't. And so it's more that kind of area I think is more interesting. Yeah. And then people in Sydney will say, well, we've got better oysters. And I'm like, what? Have you tested this out? Or you just declared that you have better oysters? Everywhere you go in Melbourne, world's greatest coffee. Mm-hmm. Everywhere you go. Everywhere, world's greatest. Like, have you won this, or we just self-proclaimed? So those areas are funnier. And I guess from my point of view as an Englishman who moved here 8 years ago, I get this kind of permission sometimes, because I do see it with fresh eyes, to really go, hey, have you, why do you do that? What is that? That's just red faces. Let's just talk about that as a TV show. And so I get this permission because sometimes I have been like observing Australians for 8 years. From a comedic point of view, it's a great thing to be able to hold things up to the light and go. Another thing I noticed yesterday, by the way, is this, and then people go, "What? He's right. I've never seen it like that." I was talking about the other day and how a lot of the things in Australia are named as if 10-year-old children name them, like brown snakes, carpet snakes. Tasty cheese. That's all you call it. Tasty cheese. You don't want to stay in that brainstorming for maybe 5 minutes more. Or we go, where's tasty cheese? Sorry, let's just knock off early. It's Friday. Let's go down the RSL.
Christian, you've been more than generous with your time. Thank you. I'm going to send. I bought 3 copies of your book, and I'm going to send one to each of our question askers, Gavin, Spencer, and Stephen. I assume how much do you get from each book? Is it about 8 cents or something like that?
You joke.
I know. I'm close, aren't I? I'm near the pin there.
People go to me, hey, I've just bought your book. And I think they think I get the $28 or something. And I go, thank you. And it literally is. When you see the contract, I'm like, wait, what? This is the kind of deal that Elvis Presley signed with the Colonel.
Exactly. Well, look, hopefully you take that 24 cents that I've given you out of those 3 book purchases. But for everyone else,
it's almost $1 that you've given me. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. I think
I'll go to the local milk bar. I'll go to the local milk bar this weekend.
For everyone else, please get a copy of Christian's book. It's called Unscript: The Radical Act of Being Yourself. I thoroughly recommend it. As I said, I devoured it in a day. I had Christian reading it to me in my head. I didn't need the audiobook because I recognise your voice and I was recognising the words. It's a great reminder of our humanity, and it's a great reminder as radio people, our main job is to create a shared experience with our audience. And Christian, you do that every day. So well done.
And thanks. So I just want to say thank you for what you do. It's so easy to be cynical about radio these days and almost declare that it's dying. And it's really important what you do, Wade, which is why I was really excited about getting this to you before it came out, because I thought you'd get the optimism in this and uplifting really what the promise and potential of radio is and why radio still is alive and it still really matters. And if it really reminds what it's in its core DNA, shared experience, and authentic connection, it can still have a really vibrant future that will emerge and change and has to change different areas. But I still think that people who are decrying the death knell of radio and it's all YouTube now, I still think radio and the magic of the human voice in a very overly visual stimulated world now, I think there's still something really unique and magical about the human voice.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. Do you want to record a radio's fucked version? I can drop that in here just in case.
Just to play in 5 years' time.
No, we're positive. We're
But I'm
positive.
on Cole's radio. You're listening to Cole's radio. This is Christian O'Connell. Don't forget the specials on our line today.
You'd sell it. I know you
Oh,
would.
there's been some spinach by the milk fridge.
Thank
Here's Mondo Rock.
you, Christian. Thanks for coming on.